The Whosie is there. Right, welcome back to Student Central, live in the Union Mall and on Ramair 1350M at ramair.co.uk/listen. You're listening to Hustings, where it's your chance to hear from all the candidates for all the positions in the elections, plus ask them the probing questions from what is their manifesto, what are their policies, and what suite they may like. I'm sure that will appear at some point, it always does. But Hustings is live, of course, here in Student Central. You can hear back to all the Hustings later when we podcast them, available from UBU online.co.uk/elections. That's also the address you'll be able to vote from midnight on Wednesday morning, for those of you up and eager to vote, through till midnight at the end of Thursday. Results will be revealed about 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, but stay tuned to Facebook, to the website, and everything for further information. You can, of course, see all the manifestos, the YouTube videos, the notice of poll, and all sorts of other wonderful things on the UBU online.co.uk/elections website. And also, if you've ever heard of a thing called Facebook, there's a lot of candidates appear to be on there, and you can find out lots of information and ask them the probing questions that you could also ask tonight at Hustings. Right, enough of me waffling on. Let's move on to the first sabbatical position for questions, which is for Union Secretary Treasurer, standing for the role of UST. But first I should give you a description, of course, what the Union Secretary Treasurer does. The Union Secretary-Treasurer is responsible for representing the Union to the University externally regarding general management and financial matters. They coordinate the democratic functions of the Union, such as executive committee meetings, the trustee board, elections and committees of the Union. They are responsible for the secretarial, financial, commercial and staffing issues. And standing for this position are Alaseen Kamara Alpha, Joseph Allen and Ron. Reopen nominations. If those candidates could come to the front now, and stand ready to take questions after, of course, your opening speech. Now, for the position of sabbatical officer, that, of course, is 2 minutes for the opening, then all the questions, and then a 1 minute closing, so they get twice as long as those for the part-time officers. We've already had community engagement officer and international students officer, which, of course, will be available to listen back to later. So we're going to start with the 2 minute opening speech, and following the ballot paper, Alaseen Kamara Alpha, you're first up for your opening speech, and your 2 minute opening speech starts right about now.
Good evening, my name is Alpha, and I'm here tonight to explain why I should be University Treasurer for the upcoming academic year of 2011 to 2012. I'm here to make a union of the students, for the students. In the afterwake of recent world recession, everybody has tightened their belts to keep every single penny. The elected coalition government has decided to make some austerity measures, which for the normal students basically just means brutal cuts to the nation as in general. To try and balance this, the national books, I believe that I'm tasked with a similar duty to try and make the union live and operate within these means. However, as Secretary Treasurer, I believe there's a better way to make the union more efficient rather than introducing plain brutal cuts. I will aim to go through the union to count to see how best to spend the money.
1 minute.
And to see where student needs financial help. This includes better possible funding for more student-orientated projects, such as better support for students and events and socials. In conjunction with the future officers and academic affairs and all the sabbatical officers, I will try my hardest to lobby for the university hierarchy to ensure that students at the Bradford get the best possible value for their money. We are all aware of the upcoming rise in tuition fees, cause that I have been fighting for passionately in the past few months, including me being a key member of the Bradford student occupation at the end of last semester and various trips down to London, Millbound and Parliament Square, just to name a few. I'm very well suited for the job because of my past experience in running and organizing projects. Furthermore, I also see the cause of, I'm also currently a representative for my representative department and work very closely with first-year students, so I may have to be struggling with academic and social issues.
2 minutes up. That was the opening speech there for Alaseen Kamara Alpha. Also standing for Union Secretary Treasurer is Joseph Allen, and your 2 minute opening speech starts now.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Joseph Allen, and I'm also running the position of Union Secretary Treasurer. Now, as we all know, in modern times, there's a lot of emphasis in cutting back funding. And I think it's important in these times to make sure that the union runs at maximum efficiency, to make sure that no money is getting left in bank accounts not being used or spent on small project when it could be used on projects that could help more people or benefit the most. In order to do this, I intend to make sure that all payments spending of the union is closely scrutinised to make sure that the right amount of money is spent on the right things, so that no or as least money as possible goes to waste, and using the extra money to both spend on more events or whatever is needed. One of the ways I intend to do this is to promote the use of Bradford's own students to take pressure off the union, so that they will not have to rely on overcharging.
1 minute.
So they won't have to rely on overcharging contractors. There's a lot of talent in the union, and I intend to maximise it and let the students shine. I believe that strong cohesion between union members will result in a strong performance. I intend to have regular meetings and emphasise to all candidates that they're meant to work together and that by pooling their resources they will get the best possible result. I adamantly believe that it's the union's job to put the students' rights before all the things. So whenever representing, I will not compromise and make sure that students always get the best possible deal. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you've heard the opening speeches there for candidates for the sabbatical position of Union Secretary Treasurer. They are Alistine Kamara Alpha and Joseph Allen, and of course Ron reopen nominations. We're now going to move to questions to all candidates. You can do that in two different ways. One, if you're here in Student Central on the Union Mall, you can give your questions to Michael, who is part of the new democracy coordinator for this year. We'll be happy to read them through and pass them to me for the questions. Alternatively, if you're listening at home, you can email studio@ramair.co.uk, or you can text Ramair, then your question to 60300. Standard rate applies to pass those on as well. So we're going to start with questions to all candidates with the first question. How will you increase participation in union democracy, especially halting the trend in actually I think it says not coming to general meetings? Joseph, if you could answer that one firstly, please.
I think it's important to make sure that students are fully aware of how important these meetings are. It's a case of publicising not only what the meetings do, but what the benefit is. I think that is the best way to make sure that all students do.
Okay, and Alpha, if you could answer that one, please.
As I've been I reckon the best way to actually increase student participation is actually for someone to have a representative who actually does represent all these students. As I've been doing basically last semester, I've been, not only do I participate at university level sports and going to the social events, but I also, as mentioned in my manifesto and just earlier on, I'm also working in conjunction with the Bradford Student Solidarity Movement to actually engage the students, something which we will be doing on the 20th of March. So we're seeing some of you people there, obviously. So yeah, so obviously to send out the word there and to make a bigger kind of get all the universities in West Yorkshire working together to actually have a common goal to fight these cuts which are coming up. So that's the best way, I believe.
Okay, the next question is, do you think NUSL, that's the NUS Services Limited, and the Sodexo Catering at the university provide good value for money for student experiences? And Alpha, if you could tackle that one firstly, please.
So I'm not familiar with the history with the catering company has with the university. If I had a bit more information on that, I will obviously be able to tackle the question a bit better. But I still believe that on the basis that of personal experience, I do believe that the food is not exactly of the highest caliber at the university currently, and I believe that it's time for the university to be looking at other avenues, such as other catering businesses who may provide a better service. And so I believe it's best that we should test it out first and see how it goes, and basically pick the better one, which I believe the students will decide on.
Okay, and Joseph, if you could answer that one, please.
I think what we need to do is not let the companies get complacent with what they give us. We need to let them know that if it's not good enough, we will go to other places. If we can do that, then I'm certain that not only they'll increase their product, but they'll also have to keep us appeased. I think in doing that is how we'll get the best possible deal. Not just staying with one person, but letting them know that if it's not good enough, we will go elsewhere. Thanks.
Okay, now questions to Union Secretary Treasurer. The hard-hitting question of the evening that we've all been waiting for. What is your favourite pizza topping and why? Joseph, if you would like to answer that question, please.
Oh, God, this is hard. I suppose anything spicy, really. My favourite pizza would be the Mystics chili pizza. I'm man enough to say it made me cry.
And Alpha, when it comes to pizza toppings, what is your favourite?
All I can say is I'm a man of many toppings.
There we go, the candidate's getting a slice of the action there. Sorry, that was the best pun I could come up with for that one. Right, next question for the Union Secretary-Treasurer candidates. Has political reform gone far enough? Do liberation roles need to be full-time given the workload, especially as no one has applied for them? And Alpha, if you could go for that one first, please. Yep, the question again is, has political reform gone far enough? Do liberation roles need to be full-time given the workload, especially as no one has applied for them?
Although that is an issue, I would almost kind of try and push towards academic affair, as we have a better knowledge of the, actual participation at university. I still believe that, as previously said, that it is just about engaging the individual student and finding out what they actually believe. To clarify the importance of each position. So if as in a case, I'm not sure which position is actually no one's run for, but maybe that's solely due to the fact that people are not aware of the importance of that position and how that position affects them and the student body in general. So that needs to be made clear.
And Joseph, your take on the liberation roles, please.
Well, I think every position is very important, so if one is not getting fulfilled, then obviously there's a problem that needs to be addressed. The best way to do it is to let everyone know what the role does and how important it is. Again, letting people learn and understand is the best way. Thanks.
Okay, you're listening to questions to our candidates for the Union Secretary-Treasurer position. Michael, have we had any further questions in? Any questions from Rama? If you could check those. No, nothing there. If you'd like to send your questions into Rama, you can of course email studio@rama.co.uk. Next question is, what are your top 3 priorities for cuts at the University of Bradford Students' Union? Should SABs and staff take a pay freeze? Joseph, if you could answer that one firstly, please.
Well, I like the idea that we would all pull together, and in which case I would be willing to take a pay freeze. In terms of priorities for cutting, I'd like to have the university become more communal, in as much we look to our own talents before we look outside to paying for talents. I know a lot of people who are very talented and can fulfil some of the roles that the university has paid outside its people a lot of money before to do. So I think that is... Yeah, I think that's the best way to make cuts, is to make sure that we're paying the right amount and not automatically going for the easiest, most expensive option.
Okay, and Alpha? The question was, what are your top 3 priorities for cuts at the University of Bradford Students' Union? Should SABs and staff take a pay freeze?
As stated in my manifesto, knowing that obviously where your money is going and that every student has a say in where their funds are going is obviously one of my definite top priorities. Engaging the students would be my second main priority, and my third would just be actually improving the state of the union in general. To the question of the staffing, I myself, I'm willing to take a pay cut or a pay freeze if that actually will in any way show obviously my commitment to the cause of improving the university in general.
Okay, you're listening to questions for candidates for the Union Secretary-Treasurer position. Another hard-hitting question now. What is your favourite currency? Alpha, what is your favourite currency? He's now going through all of the ones.
Although coming from a African background, I would have almost said Niger, which some people would love to say. But since coming to this country, I would love to point out that it has to be the pound. It's so strong through the times, through hardships. Basically, the pound has risen a small little island nation with just a few little inhabitants who can barely read, right? to become one of the greatest nations of the world. So I would say the pound sterling will have to be my favourite currency.
Okay, and Joseph, what is your favourite currency?
I'd also have to say the pound. It's been part of our culture for a very long time. We've had it certainly as long as I can remember. So, yeah, I've got to say the pound. You've got to support the home team.
That was a public service broadcast on behalf of the Bank of England. No, in fact, it's Hustings 2011. Right, next question for the position of Union Secretary-Treasurer. What are your views on the proposed educational reforms, fees and funding / grant cuts? More importantly, what are you doing about it? Joseph, if you could answer that firstly, please.
Well, obviously, education should be a right, not something you have to pay for. And if you think about it, the more people get degrees, get better jobs, would eventually bring more money into the country through earning higher jobs. So I think it's important that we stress to the government that it is a very bad idea. As such, I'll be leading protests, signing petitions, and any other possible thing I could do to show them that this is not the right course of action.
Okay, and Alpha?
The near trebling of the tuition fee is something which disgusts me. It's come to think that just over 10 years ago, people in this country could go and have a free education, go up to the university stage and have a free education. The fact that university fees have been that university fees are going up, and no one's actually been campaigning against that. I may point out that I personally have been working with students who are here currently to actually make a change. I'll be lobbying to the university hierarchy to try and stop the 100% grant cuts to subjects such as obviously media and arts, which I'll be looking to cut in the future. It's not. I believe it's unfair for people to view such subjects as being academically weaker. So I do not believe that they should be held at a disadvantage over their peers who are studying more academic subjects. So that's something definitely I'll be campaigning against, I think.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. If anyone else has got any questions for the position of Union Secretary-Treasurer, got 1 minute now to get them in, either in Student Central or via studio@ramair.co.uk, else we'll be finishing with what I've got here in front of me. Right, the next question for the candidates for UST. What are the top 3 services for students you are going to make priority in terms of finances? What are the top 3 services for students you are going to make a priority in terms of finances? Alpha, if you could go for that one firstly, please. Into questions to Union Secretary-Treasurer candidates.
As myself, as mentioned before, me playing at the university for the rugby team, I do believe that we always lack the facilities and the right equipment to actually proceed and do our sports. Compared to other universities who have specialised sporting facilities, we really do lack them. And that's an area I definitely would love to work on a lot harder. In finding out that, for instance, I can only recall a certain occasion where we were stuck down in London doing the Parliament Square demonstration, and it took the union quite a long time to actually try and organise some transportation for us. So we had to actually stay down in London with SOAS. So bad memories. So I'll be definitely campaigning to try and make the union move smoother, so certain issues which are addressing issues can be tackled straight away and benefit the university in general.
Okay, and Joseph, if you could answer that question, please. Yep, the question was, what are the top 3 services for students you are going to make a priority in terms of finances?
Well, one of the first services would be the counselling services. There's a million and one things that you could go for counselling for. Could be anything from home, or simply the fact that you've come from another country and it's a brand new experience. I think there's a political lack at the university. As my opponent said, we've been very slow on the axe sometimes, and I think something important as politics, it's something we should have more of a priority. So that would be what I'd prioritise.
Okay, right, we'll take the next question now for candidates for Union Secretary Treasurer. How will you allocate funds to help societies that can't run on current levels for long? Joseph, if you could answer that one firstly.
Well, I think you'd have to look back at the societies in the previous years, and you have to make a difference. Is it a society that is failing, or just a society that's fallen on a hard time this last year? Could it be that most of the members have suddenly just gone this year, but is likely to come back next year? So I think it's important to look more at the long term of the society, rather than just at the here and now, and assign funds that way.
Okay, and Alpha? Although we love for each student to obviously have their own type of society, for me, for instance, I would love to just maybe have like a little grime society or something like that going on at the university. We still have to look at the general view that we have to look at the popularity of that society, and it's a shame to say, but we have to fit the wider demographic, and the money has to go to the right societies. So if, for instance, there's a society like a hip hop society which manages to bring in more members, so I'm sorry to say this, but I do believe that that society will obviously deserve the higher amount of funding. So that's my view on that.
Okay, just to let everyone know, new questions for the position of Union Secretary Treasurer are now closed, but if you do want to ask questions to candidates further for Academic Affairs Officer and Media and Entertainment Officer, please get those into Michael now, or email them to studio@ramair.co.uk, or text Ramair, then your question to 60300. But we have a few more questions for Union Secretary Treasurer before we move on. And the next question is, how do you feel you can ensure the SAB team work together effectively? Alpha, if you could go for that hornet's nest of a question firstly, please.
As I have been doing in the past few weeks, I've been actually engaging and meeting with the sabbaticals, with the future sabbaticals, running for each individual position. So I've had the pleasure of actually shaking hands and making actually, not as to say form a friendship, but actually engage them and find out what their views are on certain subjects which are obviously close to my heart, which I've been talking about all night. So I believe it's all about engaging each individual.
Okay, and Joseph, how would you ensure the SAB team work together effectively?
Well, I think the SAB team would work better if they're more aware of what each other's doing and working more as a team rather than a series of individuals. So I'd insist on meetings, both large ones, say on a Monday and a Friday, to discuss what they've done and what needs to be done at the beginning of the week. But also, say, a 5-minute meeting each day, even if it's just to say, this is what I'm doing, can anyone help? And because I think it's a working together thing that will build a stronger union rather than walking apart.
Those were answers to the question, how can you ensure the SAB team work together effectively, and didn't involve any mention of pizzas. Right, the next question is a two-part one. Would you have a contribution to the increase in tuition fees? If yes, what would you consider suitable as the new tuition fee? How would you implement your figure? Joseph, if you could go for that question. I'll repeat that again just so everyone could hear it. Would you have a contribution to the increase in tuition fees? If yes, what would you consider suitable as a new tuition fee? How would you implement your figure?
Ooh, good question. I think it's important to remember that education is a very important thing, both in economy and personal. So I think the fee should be lower and capped across the board. So I think a fee of $3,000 for all 3 years, $1,000 a year, it will promote more people to go to university and open up that experience. And at the same time, in future years, the higher paid jobs that people will have will bring more money back into the economy, solving both problems, or at least hoping to. That's what I'd say on the opinion.
Okay, and Alpha, could you go for the answer to that question, please, here at Hustings 2011?
I'm obviously looking at not just actually the individual university level here. I'm actually going to look at the more national level. As the rising, currently I believe England is seen as the educator. It's one of the reasons I'm actually at this university. I see, look at all the great universities we have, who are top ranked in the world. And I believe with this rising tuition fee, we've basically shot ourselves in the foot. And now we're going to, people who may have decided to come to England may actually withdraw that and actually stay in their own countries, or maybe go off to America or anywhere else, Germany, Holland, where it's actually cheaper to get a full-time education. So I'm obviously going to be continue to campaigning, as I will be doing on the 26th of March when I'm going down to London to actually try and be, preferably I want to see it reduced, but if we can keep it down to £6,000, I think that's at least that's a start. And if we keep working at it as students together, we may be able to bring back free education in this country.
And the final question for candidates for the Union Secretary Treasurer: do you have any experience in organisation and handling money? Alpha, if you'd like to go for that firstly, please. Do you have any experience in organisation and handling money?
I could start from the very beginning. Mum giving me my first £5 to take care of and going to the sweet shop. But in more recent years, well, obviously just as a youngster, I used to attend the youth club when I was around 14. And I started getting involved. Actually, when I spoke, after speaking to one of my youth officers, who actually, they gave me the nickname Money because I always was interested in money, in life in general. Don't ask me why. But he knew I had a very interest in actually helping out my fellow youth basically in the area. So he said, why don't you actually run for the position of chairman for the Lewisham Youth Board? So I ran for the position and I basically obviously got the job. And for about 2 years I worked with actually the Lewisham Council to ensure that that most of the wishes of the young people were obviously granted. For instance, if I said like I helped decide on decisions on whether or not the group can decide a certain youth club was allowed to go-karting, which was realistic, compared to one where one youth club wanted to go off to America, which was unrealistic. So it was obviously a big responsibility. We were dealing with figures close to the millions here, so it was actually quite a big responsibility. And for doing the work which I was doing as the chairman, I even received the Jack Petty Award for my work. So just shows obviously the quality of person Alpha is.
Okay, and Joseph, if you could go for that question, what's your experience in organisation and handling money?
Well, in terms of handling money, I have actually served as a treasurer before. In my sixth form, there was a charity committee, which was in charge of raising money, raising awareness, general charity matters, and I was elected as the treasurer and was in charge of running the club's accounts, deciding which charity venture would be the most effective in terms of getting back what you put in. In terms of organisation, I've served in the fencing team as an executive officer for 3 years now. Before that, in the first year of this university, I was a former representative for the Ages Department. Going back as far as high school, I was also the equivalent of a former representative. So, in terms of representation, I feel that I'm quite capable. But I don't know if anyone's heard of the Duke of Edinburgh expeditions. I've actually led 2 silver expeditions for various groups in my life. I myself hold silver. So I think I'm capable of leading and have a understanding and experience in handling money and the ability to decide which decisions are best, if not the most fun ones. It's the ones that have to be made.
Okay, you've heard their answers to questions for the candidates for Union Secretary Treasurer, covering everything from effective catering to sabbatical harmony and favourite currency and pizza toppings, all the important issues there. We're going to finalise this position, of course, with the 1-minute summation speech from each candidate. Joseph, it's your turn first for your summation speech, and your 1 minute for that starts now.
Well, just to reiterate what I stand for, I believe that the university should reevaluate the money it spends in different areas and make sure it's getting the very most for the amount of money it puts in. We are in an economic recession, money is getting short, so we need to really squeeze every pound for the maximum benefit. I think that we should look within ourselves to our own skills and talents before simply throwing money at contractors who could charge a lot more and take away the chance for our students to really let their talents shine. So that's the principle that I stand for. If you agree with me, I'd like you to invite you to vote for experience, vote for integrity, and vote for an honest Joe. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was a closing speech there for Joseph Allen for the position of Union Secretary-Treasurer. Alpha, if you could do for your 1 minute closing speech, and that starts about now.
I would again like to thank you all for taking the opportunity to come to attend this meeting and hosting for your questions raised. This upcoming election is an important one. It may have significant ramification not only for the upcoming year but also for the medium-term vision for the university. The decisions that I will make will always be in the best interest of all students who have voted for me to be in such an important position. I believe that it's time to stand up and be counted, and I hope that you've all I hope you've all heard enough to convince yourselves that I am the worthy guy for your support and your vote. Vote Alpha because you come first.
Okay, that was a closing speech there from Alaseen Kamara Alpha, standing for Union Secretary-Treasurer. The candidates for the position of Union Secretary-Treasurer are Alaseen Kamara Alpha, Joseph Allen and Ron reopen nominations. You can vote for this position and every other position from midnight at the beginning of Wednesday through till midnight on the end of Thursday via ubuonline.co.uk/elections. Don't forget you can give in your questions for Academic Affairs Officer candidates and Media and Entertainment Officer candidates to Michael, who's currently taking some nice snaps later, of a very courtesy there, handshake there from both candidates. You can also email them to studio@ramair.co.uk or text the word Ramair, then your question to 60300. Standard rate applies. You can also check out manifestos, YouTube videos and lots more via the UBU Online website or Lynn Student Centre. Pick up one of the manifesto booklets.